Oh my gosh, look at that. Francis, what are you doing? Are you in the bag? This cat. Oh my goodness. I used to think that having Deadstock be the only fabric that I purchased for my collection was a sustainable choice that was positively moving that sustainability needle forward. But now I'm not so sure anymore. So let's have a conversation about it. I love fashion, but it keeps me up at night thinking about the environment, climate change, and the impact of the broader fashion industry on that future. I feel like my purpose is designing and making clothes. So when I decided that my career path was going to be to become an independent designer, I thought I was doing my part to choose a better sustainable future by sourcing Deadstock fabric. But based on some of our recent conversations and some of the research that I've been doing, I'm not sure that that's still the case. Well, if you can't tell, I'm somebody who likes to read, likes to learn about things. Let's just say I overthink them so that you don't have to, and we can have this conversation and I'll do all of like the nitty-gritty reading. Welcome to our latest design debate. I'm Leigh. I'm your resident sustainable fashion designer, fiber artist. We all have to get dressed every day. It's going to take a team effort to become more informed so that we can make better decisions, whether it's the clothing that we're purchasing, the clothing that we're making, or even how we treat the clothes that are already in our closet. So the more we can keep having these conversations, the better. So what is Deadstock? Deadstock is leftover fabric, excess inventory that isn't sold. Deadstock fabric has always been around, but when it built up this heavy labeling and association with sustainability, suddenly seemed to have a lot more value. It hadn't had as much of an awareness in kind of our social consciousness as much as it did recently, as fast fashion has kind of taken over and become the standard for how we buy clothing. And there's excess polyester, let's be honest, everywhere. We started to pay attention and care about, what was happening with all of this excess and found out that brands were either dumping it in landfills or burning it. So what do we do with the leftover and how do we stop it from being burned? Well, there was a market created called Deadstock fabric. Listen, I'm all about a sustainable solution that stops fabric from being dumped and burned. But I found out we may only be talking about one page in a much, much larger book about what's actually happening around Deadstock in the industry. In 2020, Vogue put out an article about the rise of Deadstock fabric, and I think that's when it entered more of the mainstream lexicon. Basically, normal people started using the term Deadstock and knowing what it was, and part of that was because supply chains had ground to a halt. And if you can't make any new fabric, you are going to have to use the stuff that you already have. However, at that point at which most of us were just starting to become familiar with this term, it already was a $120 billion industry. And that was casually dropped in the exact same article. So you're like, wait, what is this great thing? Wait, $120 billion? This isn't new at all. This is established. I realized we're not even asking the right questions. It's not Deadstock versus the alternative. The real issue is actually fast fashion growing exponentially year over year. While we're having our little fight over here in the corner, Deadstock, is it sustainable or not? The problem with overproduction is still growing. And it's growing fastest in the areas that produce the most excess. I was on Threads the other day. There was a woman who was talking about how she knows about sustainability and she wants to be a sustainable consumer, yet she had a new job, needed some new clothes, and found herself buying something off of, I think it was Shein or another one of these overproducing fast fashion companies. But the real issue for her was she didn't know what else there was. She didn't have another option where she could get something that suited her style, that fit her, that was ethically made. And she also didn't have the time to go and do that research. even though we started this talking about Deadstock, and thank you for going down this rabbit hole with me, and since it shook my worldview quite a bit, I'm very eager to hear your thoughts on it as well. On the other side, I have found a better question. How do we make it easier for people to know about sustainable options? How do we grow that industry so that it's easier to choose something over fast fashion so that we can begin to loosen fast fashion's death grip on our future? So I have decided that debating over Deadstock is going to be an issue that I'm putting to bed in favor of focusing on, I think, the bigger picture and what really will move the needle. Maybe once fast fashion is in the decline, we can go back to splitting hairs about Deadstock and how sustainable our sustainable solutions are. I'm way more interested in what you think. So let's chat in the comments if you think I'm on the right path here, if you think I'm asking the right questions. And shoot, if you have any answers, let's keep these conversations going because I do think having them matters. And if you thought this was a good debate, just wait till the next one. I'll give you a hint. It involves a topic that is on the cover of this book. And let me tell you, I have thoughts, and I'm sure you're going to as well. Hint, it involves one person having 200,000 pieces of clothing, and you won't even guess who. I'm so excited to talk about it. I hope that you found this valuable, that you enjoyed this conversation. If you did, share it with someone that you'd like to start a conversation with. And I'll see you next time for another design debate. Thanks for being here. Hopefully, Francis will again make a guest appearance. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.